Welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. I might be becoming a bad baseball fan who can't enjoy the romantic things because of advanced statistics. 15 years from now, I want to be on the early baseball committee. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran.
I literally have the Fangraphs hoodie, the baseball reference t-shirt, just repping some stats, you know what I'm saying?
It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio. We're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing well tonight. It was a fun weekend of baseball. I know it sounds very generic, but this truly was a very good round. I think Saturday had like 4 really good games subjectively, because one of them kind of sucked. But there's an elephant in the room here, so Chris, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so what you may have heard on Friday was me really taking a hammer down on the San Diego Padres and me trying to prove a point and saying, you know, in all my other predictions outside of the Mets-Padres series, I was kind of like, I was kind of mild-mannered in my predictions. However, in the Mets Padres ones, I was very adamant about Mets sweeping the Padres. That blew up in my face. The Padres won the series, convincingly, I'd say. They did it in 3, but they won both games that they won by 6 runs.
They won via shutout. Or no, wait, I guess the Mets did score 1 in the first game, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was a garbage time run.
And what I have to say to that is, I'm a young man in this industry, trying to get ahead, and always the people with the worst takes get the furthest. I mean,
That's
if you just look at First Take or Skip and Shannon, it's you just constantly see bad take after bad take. However, they try to be very convincing when they start that take. So, that's just me getting into practice. Usually,
Yeah. I mean, you got to put that on your resume for sure.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
adamantly had the Mets sweeping the Padres like
Yeah,
at the top of your resume.
that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do to get ahead
Yeah.
here. But yeah, I was I feel like a lot of people were down on the Mets, and I wanted to be up on the Mets, but
See,
the people
here's
who
where
were down on the Mets ended up being right.
here's where you go with this now is for Dodgers Padres, you pick Padres in 3, and either you stick with having the worst takes or you're an absolute genius.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I can
that's how you do it now.
I could completely 180 on the Padres. That would be a good idea.
So you know what? The Dodgers kind of suck if you really think about it.
Yeah.
I know
They
they won
haven't
111 games, but are
they
they
haven't
really
won a
that
game
good?
in over a week.
Yeah. They have Tyler Anderson as their 2 starter.
Yeah, he's a creative player. He's
He was on the Pirates last year. He's not real.
he's not real. Definitely not real. Um, but yeah, and it is funny because we are kind of like hot take, an anti-hot take podcast, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like we kind of try to stay logical and have reasoning behind all of our predictions or takes. But that one I kind of went off the rails and it blew up in my face.
It was
But
very entertaining. I'm not gonna lie.
see, that's the thing. Is like a podcast is entertainment, so I kind of, I won
Yeah.
there. I ended up being wrong, but I was entertaining while I did it. So, hey,
I was gonna say if you're gonna be wrong, be fun and wrong.
yes,
And
yes,
you were very fun and wrong.
yes. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah,
Um,
I was boring and just said Mets in 3, like a low life.
yeah. Um, but yeah, we have a lot of baseball to get into because we not only do we have recaps, but we got previews, and then we got another 4 game
Mhm.
Tuesday coming up, which is lit.
Yeah.
Um,
3 4 game days in a week is a lot to handle,
yes.
but like you know what? Sometimes you gotta rise up to the occasion.
Yes, yes.
As
And
simple as that.
a four game Tuesday is like it's gonna be interesting. Like,
It is.
Tuesday there's a lot to manage. It's like I guess this week it's the start of the week because of the long weekend. So
Hmm.
it's gonna be an adjustment for sure. I don't think there's ever really been a four game Tuesday except maybe 2020, but that doesn't
That was
count.
Wednesday. It was 8 game Wednesday, I believe.
Well, there was
Actually, no,
eight.
you know what? It would have been 4 game Tuesday because I think it was the AL series started on that
Yeah,
Tuesday, and then the Wednesday was 8 games, and then Thursday was like whatever remained,
yeah.
or Thursday would have been game two, I guess.
In 2020 there was literally like six 4 game days. but but it was hard to care.
Also, the division series schedule is so whack this year. Like there's an off day between games 1 and 2.
Um, yeah, well, just
Because I was like, oh, if there's a 4 game Tuesday, there must be a 4 game Wednesday. There's not. It's just the NL teams, and then the AL teams are both Thursday, and then it's both NLs, and then we could have a 4 game Saturday if neither of the NL series result in sweeps,
yeah.
which a 4 game Saturday would be nice.
Um, yeah, agreed. It makes a lot of sense because like the MLB wouldn't want straight up 0 games on Thursday.
Yeah,
That would be a
yeah.
failed
It's
mission
also
on their
just
part.
weird how they waited on like one of them. I guess maybe for off day purposes, but yeah.
Yeah. Um, so we have a prep sheet. We don't have to go in order of the prep sheet.
No, I
I
mean,
feel
I'd
like
rather just talk about Guardians Rays first to get it over with.
okay. Yeah, they played 24 innings and combined they scored 4 runs.
And they were
Um,
all on home runs.
and they were all on home runs.
One of
Uh,
them, the first one was by Jose Siri. That was literally the only thing that Rays fans had to cheer about on offense the entire series. Like, not only did they not score again, but like, I think they only had like 2 other plate appearances with runners in scoring position or something crazy like that.
um,
Like, they did nothing offensively that series.
yeah,
And
it was rough.
that series felt like it went. It's weird because it felt like it went exactly as expected, but more like that. Like it exceeded expectations of being exactly
Yes.
what we thought it would be.
Yeah, it was more Guardians Rays than we expected it to
Okay,
be.
the Rays went 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position in game 1. And then in game 2, they played 15 innings. They had to have more than 6, right?
Um,
Or maybe that was okay, maybe it wasn't game 2. They went over 6. It was
yeah,
okay.
that's what I put
And in
down.
game 1, they went over 1. They had one. They called that was the Yankees in game 5 against the Rays in 2020. They had one plate appearance with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
Um,
Wow.
yeah. Game game one, it was Bieber McClanahan. Both guys showed up to pitch. Both guys did very well. Bieber
Mhm.
ended up being the winner because he gave up a solo homer instead of a 2-run homer. Um,
Yep.
7 2/3 innings pitched, 1 run, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. Uh, what should be noted is, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's great. But also on the batted balls, Bieber was giving up the right type of batted balls. He had 17 batted balls against him. 11 were ground balls, which are, 65%, about 2/3, very good percentage. Of those 17 batted balls, only one line drive. Fantastic. And
Hmm.
an average exit velocity against of 84.3 miles per hour, which is very low. So,
Yeah, and
um,
Jose Siri happened to get him almost twice. He had a 394-foot fly ball to center that was
yeah,
caught at the track.
Jose Siri was crazy because he had 2 barrels and then the next day he struck out like 4 or 5 times.
I
Yeah.
wrote at the very end of the prep sheet, Jose Siri accounted for 40% of the barrels in this series. Because Yandy Diaz had one, obviously Oscar Gonzalez had one, and then Jose Ramirez had one.
Yep.
The 2-run home run in question in game 1 was Jose Ramirez. It was in the 6th inning, right after Siri, and it didn't even look gone off the bat. Like I was like, oh, is that gonna
Yeah.
keep going? And it did. Um,
Yeah, it was a weird one like that. It
yeah,
was, it was a change up, it was a way. Um, and yeah, it was like, oh, he hit
off the
it.
McClanahan.
Yeah, it was off McClanahan.
So it was him hitting righty as well.
Yeah, right. And Jose Ramirez, I think they had a stat like he pulled like
Yep, that
90%
was
of his
literally the
home
next thing I was
runs,
going to say. Like as a right-hander, he never pulls his home runs, and even just in general, but
or
specifically as a right-hander.
he never puts his home runs opposite fields as a righty.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
meant. Yeah, he always pulls his home runs. And yeah, that
yeah,
one went to right center as a right-handed batter. And
right.
then going Bieber to Clase was crazy. That's so sick.
That's lethal, man.
Yeah. Clase did his thing. Nothing new there. Um, there was a lot of good symbolism in this series. I'm sorry to skip to the end, but do you remember
Yeah,
who gave up
we'll
the
see.
walk-off home run
Um, wait,
for the Rays?
is that? It was a curveball. Um, wait, God,
If I'm asking you this question, who should it be?
the guy who
Who gave up
gave
the
up.
home run to Oscar Gonzalez?
Oh yeah, it was Corey Kluber.
It very much was Corey Kluber.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, don't forget they traded one inning of Kluber to get Clase.
Class A pitch, uh, well,
More in that series, I
more, and
guess,
that's
than Kluber did for the Rangers. That's so crazy. That is so wild.
oh my God. And yeah, and it's not like Kluber has been like an ace since even leaving the Rangers. Also,
He's been pretty good,
he's been pretty good
and
this
that's
year.
it.
Yeah, this
Mm,
year he had what, like a
Like,
four
pretty
three
decent. He had
six
like a
ERA.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I was gonna say 4.37.
Yeah, well, Price is Right action. But yeah,
Um,
very
game
fitting.
two.
Yeah, game two.
Game two was the first thing you see when you enter hell.
Yeah, you see 39 strikeouts right at the gates.
And it wasn't even like it to me it didn't even feel like good pitching. It was just both these teams suck at hitting.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, yeah, this game, my experience with this game was funny.
Yeah.
By the way, if it's not known, um, from anyone listening to the podcast, Daniel and I are both taken men. So I was out. Well, my girlfriend is a cross country runner, and I was at an event this weekend. So the game started during the event, like right after her race.
Mhm.
Um, and then it was like extra innings. I went out to lunch with the family after, like, and we left to get lunch like 2 hours after the game started, and we went to get got lunch, ended lunch, and then on the ride back we were listening. I was listening on the radio, and then and my girlfriend doesn't really know, she's not a big sports fan, and I was telling her I was a scoreless tie, and she said they shouldn't be playing professionally if they can't score. And I was in my head, I was like, partially I'm not really disagreeing with that, but I went ahead and said this is good pitching, but I wasn't even 100% sure that that was the case.
I mean, like, yeah, pitching is the strong suit on both of those teams, but it's not that overpowering.
Yeah, like, it's not 28 combined innings of scoreless ball.
Even
Great.
even though it was 39 strikeouts, like it still felt like what are these offenses doing?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Like there are pitching performances where I can appreciate the pitching. Like those can absolutely exist, but I just did not feel it in this game.
it just, yeah, it didn't feel like that. It just felt like, the Rays strike out a lot. Guardians, I guess, don't strike out a lot, but
But they happened to on this day. I also had a funny experience with this game. I was at my best friend's house. I went home for this weekend because it's a long weekend, so I haven't seen my best friend from my hometown in a month and a half. So
mhm.
I drove 45 minutes up to his house, and I had the game on the radio the whole time. And I left in the ninth inning thinking, and so I told him I was gonna leave at 3:15 to get there, and I was hoping by that point the game would be over. But it was the end of the ninth when I left, and I was like, whatever, I'll just watch. I'll just listen to the radio. It'll be over by the time I get there. And then it wasn't over by the time I got there. Not even close. It was the end of the 12th when I got there, and there was 3 more innings of baseball to watch.
Didn't you
And
have
I
a
was like,
tweet? Didn't you have a tweet saying that like we should make an exception for the ghost runner
yes,
in
and
the
I stand
playoffs?
by that. Like it felt like we needed it on third at some points.
Yeah. Right.
It's like give
Yeah.
us bases loaded, no out, because that's the only way someone has a chance. The Guardians even had that in the game, and they didn't
Yeah.
score. It was the
Yeah.
6th inning. I think it was after Glasnow left. It must have been no, Pete Fairbanks had a bad outing, and then who came in? Oh, it was Jason Adam. Jason Adam came in, got Jose Ramirez a strikeout, and then you got Josh Naylor to ground into a double play.
Yeah, which is, I guess
Um,
that transitions into
and
the big moments of this game and where the Rays could have scored.
uh, similarly with what your girlfriend said, my best friend also isn't a huge baseball fan, and he was like, "How are these guys in Major League Baseball if none of them can score?" I was like, that's a great question, but it goes a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, it would
And
be
then
funny.
finally, SpongeBob, Oscar Gonzalez walked
Yeah,
it off.
my
There
girlfriend's
was
just my girlfriend's just like, you know, Jose Siri and his 33% strikeout rate should be in the minors right now. He should not be facing off against Trevor
to be
Stefan right
fair, he
now.
was literally the Rays' whole offense that series.
That's true. But
Yeah,
the game two, it showed why he had a 607 OPS this year.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so
So
go into the big moment. What were you gonna say?
I mean, the game was 15 innings long. It I believe it ran for like 4 hours and 45 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, which isn't bad for
The
15 innings.
Mariners Blue Jays game, which started 4 hours later, was in like the 3rd inning when it ended.
Yeah, and that
It
was a
was
slow
funny because I
game.
was like, oh, it ended around 5 actually. It was funny because I was looking at the schedule for that day and I was like, okay, so there's a game at 12 and a game at 4. That means there's gonna be some in between time. That's probably when I can go up to my friend's house.
Yeah,
There was no dead time at all.
yeah, yeah.
Not a second. Not a single moment.
Um, so going to the pivotal points of the game. By the way, yeah, I think you said Rays 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position in game two. Top of the 10th, there was a man on second, one out. Um, this there was a little babippery going against the
Yeah.
Rays. There were two consecutive hard hit balls, which means 95 plus mile per hour exit velocity, with expected batting averages of 430 and 760 respectively, and both were outs. The 760 expected batting average was when,
The line drive to Miles Straw.
yeah, line drive to Miles Straw,
I forget who hit it, but
Francisco Mejia.
oh, that's right. Because I was like, oh my god, what if he's the hero? Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Um,
was.
oh yeah, Mejia, formerly in the Cleveland system,
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
and he
Yeah, I
got
remember when he
traded for
had like
Brad
a
Hand.
who got traded for. Did he get traded from the from Cleveland to anyone? Probably not. Not that I can think of.
Um,
Where was the next place he went? Was it the Nationals?
yeah,
No, maybe it wasn't because he played for 3 teams in 2021. It was either I think it was the Nationals.
yeah,
Yeah, so
and
I
then he
can't
played for the Blue
imagine.
Jays. But
He was awful with the Blue Jays, decent with the Mets.
yeah,
Yeah, so
Mejia,
Mejia. He also had a
Mejia,
40-game hit streak in the minors one year, something like that.
yeah, Mejia was, yeah, he was a top prospect, and
He was
he
gonna be
got
the real
traded
deal.
for Brad Hand to the Padres, and then he wasn't great with the Padres, and then they traded him to Tampa Bay, and he's been decent with Tampa Bay. By the way, if you're wondering about my low voice, and if you're watching the video episode, my laid back attitude, it's 11:55 p.m. and I'm trying not to
Yep.
wake up my roommates. As
Just go to the second floor. No one's home.
Nico's here.
Oh, okay.
Shout
Yeah,
out
you can
to,
wake him. Who cares?
yeah, plus he's either dead asleep
He's
or wide
definitely not
awake.
asleep. I can promise you he's wide awake and will be for the next like 3 hours.
Well, depending on whatever he's dabbled in tonight,
That's
it could
valid.
it could be
I
a
don't know if we're
different.
cutting this or not.
No, no. Shout out to Nico Fasella.
Yeah.
5-time guest,
Yeah, something like that.
somewhere around there. I think we've lost count. That's how he's
How many drafts have we had? Three?
3 drafts, and then he
Three
was on,
drafts plus I think four, right?
well, 2012 Red Sox
Yeah, that
segment,
was the fourth.
and then he guessed how about that.
Oh, that's right. We did do that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was in the Cape. Okay, so 5-time guess, yeah.
5-time guest.
Very much.
And we him, David Kilburn, and Nick Strelazzi and I all went to the Pats game today. Kind of
Yeah.
fell, not to get too off topic, but kind of fell right into my lap that I had the Pats game and I didn't miss any baseball during it.
I know. Big day.
Yeah. Um, but anyway, uh, top of the 12th in game 2 of Guardians Rays. Big play by Joe Ram.
Yeah, it reminded me of that like famous Manny Machado play at Yankee Stadium from 2013 where he
Yeah.
bobbled the ball out of bounds, picked it, or wow, I can't believe I just said out of bounds in baseball. In foul territory, picked it up, threw out Manuel Margot, beat him by like half a step, and the Rays would have scored on that play. And that would have been game.
Um, yeah, well, they would have,
There's men on the corners.
hypothetically, they shut him down in the bottom of the 12th. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, top of the 12th, first and third, 2 out. Manuel Margot's at the plate. And yeah, Jose Ramirez backhands a ball, kind of as he's still fielding, as he's like still gathering himself, throws it off balance across the diamond, one hop to Josh Naylor. Naylor scoops it and stretches. They review, and there was no evidence that his foot was really off the bag. I think he might have had one spike on it. And the call stands. Game remains a tie. And then top of the 15th, the Rays have another opportunity. They had first and third, 1 out. Sam Hench is on the mound, and but he struck out Francisco
Struck out.
Mejia and Jose Siri back to back.
Yep.
And then
I wasn't even I
yeah.
know I just mentioned this the last show, but like those moments where you're not even considering a possible outcome, because when Mejia came up, I was like, this is the easiest grounded to double play I've ever seen. And then I was like, oh, that's right, he struck out.
Oh yeah,
Could
you can
also
do
not
that.
hit the ball. He could also not hit the ball like 35 other batters have done this game.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, Sam Henches, he buckled down, got those 2 strikeouts, and then Oscar Gonzalez mercifully ends this game for
Thank
us.
God. Only justified way that game could have ended. Like Oscar Gonzalez coming up to the SpongeBob theme song,
Yeah,
walking it off.
yeah, that would
It
have been the
was
worst. If this were the NFL, that would have been the worst Nickelodeon game ever.
yeah. To be fair, the one like famous one was already pretty bad. The one where,
Yeah,
where Mitch Trubisky got the MVP, even though his team lost.
it was a
Because
28 to 10 game.
it was a fan vote and everyone just spammed the losing quarterback who was also mediocre at best to begin with.
And it ended how it should have. It ended with a touchdown that didn't matter by Jimmy Graham, who literally walked into the locker room after scoring the touchdown. Didn't even shake hands. But sorry, this is a baseball podcast, but that's just a really funny
That
game.
was I wish that was a Nickelodeon game.
Like,
Like
oh,
if the MLB adopted that.
MLB's finally promoting. They got a playoff game. Oh, it's
Oh, it's
it's
Guardians Rays with 39 strikeouts.
yeah. Oh God. That would be MLB's luck.
Playoff Randy did not show up in this series, which was very disappointing.
Yeah, well,
Neither did Wander Franco or just about the entire Rays lineup.
yeah. They
What was
scored
the
one run.
Rays? What was their slash line in this series?
Yeah, I didn't
We're
note
looking at a
that.
good. Hang on.
Consulting the
We're
data.
looking at a good 115, 179, 154, 332. That is
Yeah,
brutal.
okay.
Isaac Paredes led the way by going 2 for 3 with a walk.
Yeah, good on him.
Yeah, Vidal Brujan went 1 for 2.
Yeah.
Jose Siri had the third best OPS, going 1 for 9 with a homer. Oh, literally 111, 111, 444, 556.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
Randy Rosarena went 1 for 9 with a walk and
five
five
strikeouts.
strikeouts. The
Yandy Diaz 0
Rays,
for 10, 4 strikeouts.
yeah, the Rays only had one extra base hit. And it was the Siri home run.
Yep,
I'm glad that the Rays at least scored first, so the Rays fans had something to cheer about this series offensively,
that's true.
even though it
Yeah.
was just a solo home run in the 6th inning to make it 1-0.
Yeah. I mean, when also it was funny because yeah, we were also watching Guardians Rays game one in my room, and then I had a 1:30 class I had to go to. And
It was also like the 6th inning when you left.
literally um on the walk to the class, a quarter of the series' runs were scored. Literally.
Half the series runs were scored on one swing by Jose Ramirez
Yeah.
later. Were you able to catch that one?
I did see that one, yes.
Okay,
Thank
good, good.
thank goodness, as we were talking about Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, which
Right,
is
yeah,
a
in your
which is
class.
a in Gothic literature. Um, so yeah, I mean, we'll get into Guardians Yankees eventually.
Yes,
Uh,
we will.
do we want to talk about Cardinals Phillies?
Yeah, I feel like we do have some closing words on Rays Guardians.
Yeah,
The Rays are in a very weird spot right now because they took a major step back. I know that the injuries pretty or hurt them pretty badly during the season, but I mean, like for a team that won 100 games last year, I wouldn't really have even placed big expectations on them if their guys were healthy this year.
yeah,
Um, they're not necessarily losing anyone, but it really feels like they're not competing with this core. Like they need to add something, someone.
yeah. That's what sucks about.
It doesn't. I mean, obviously, Wander Franco is the biggest piece right now. Like he didn't have a good year both on the field and also he happened to be hurt as well. You're obviously counting on him to be the cornerstone bat that you paid him to be. Um, but right now you really just don't have one. You have a bunch of six hitters in your lineup, and that's not going to do you well in the playoffs.
Right.
That's also not the team that the Rays had in like 2020 and 21, where they were a legitimate World Series contender.
Yeah, that's what sucks about them being small market because they do have young pieces like Wander Franco. They got Shane McClanahan. I mean, took a big step up
Hmm.
this year. He was fantastic and he was
Yes,
good. He was
he's
he was
a
good in the
Cy Young
playoff game.
contender.
And then Tyler Glass now coming back and being healthy is a great sign for them. He's still young and he's still got
And
some
they signed him
power
to a
left.
1 year extension too.
Yeah. Um and yeah, so I mean they've got some pieces. I think to be honest, a lot of it has to do with like Brandon Lau. He was
Yep.
injured a lot this year. That's a guy who hit 39 home runs last year. Nothing to forget there. But he was injured a lot, and when he was healthy, he wasn't really performing, so that was a big loss for them. Um,
The team ISO went down by around 35 points from last year, which is
yeah,
a pretty devastating loss of power. And that's probably the number one thing, other than injuries, that's the number one thing that you point to when you're thinking about what went wrong with the 2022 Tampa Bay Rays.
right. And it's funny if you look back to our baseball stats episode that we did, episode 169. ISO actually had a higher correlation in 2021 in the American League. ISO had a higher correlation with runs scored than batting average. So I mean
Yeah.
that's having a big drop
And the
off there
Rays
is
have
not a
never
good
been a batting average team anyway.
right. Yeah. They've definitely relied on power.
Like
They
they
haven't
struck
stayed
out
away
the most in like 2020 and 21.
yeah, they haven't stayed away from strikeouts. That was gonna be my next point.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, like yeah, they're in a weird spot, but I feel like they're always in a weird spot. They're never like I feel like they're
Yeah.
rarely in like a um in any specific window
Yep.
because of how small market they are.
But part of the weirdness in their spot right now is their farm system is not what it was 2 years ago. Like they're not anywhere near being the number one farm system in the league. They're like bottom
True.
tier right now, I believe. Um, like who
Yeah.
are their like Taj Bradley, I think his name is their
Yeah.
number one prospect, who's you saw in person this year. So I mean, what's the official report?
He got lit up, but I mean,
Yeah.
that was just one game.
Yeah.
He gave up like 5 runs.
Yeah,
Um,
that's unfortunate.
yeah, I saw Manuel Valdez get an opposite field home run. I saw Tristan
Nice.
Casas hit a laser of a double. Um, but yeah, I mean that's just one game. Um, but yeah, what am I thinking about? Um, yeah, the Rays are in a weird spot, and yeah, them having a bad farm system is also a bad sign. So like, I don't know. I mean, any
It
any
feels like the
Ray,
window's closing.
any Rays trade rumor is never going to surprise me. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, this could be a completely new look team come next year.
Yeah, like
You know,
if they
I think the only safe bets might be McClanahan, Glasnow, Franco, and I guess probably a Rosarena.
um I wouldn't even be like let me take a double check here. Um I wouldn't even say place a safe bet on Tyler Glass now.
Yeah, that's I guess that's a good point. I mean, I
Like
don't know. I guess since they
they
extended
traded
him, maybe that's just to
Snell.
up his own value.
Like they traded Snell and like Glass now
Yeah.
he's just finished his age 28 season.
It's weird because we're still waiting to see it out of him in a full year.
Yeah, that's true. Very unfortunate that 2021 ended like it did
Hmm.
because he was on track to be a,
He was a Cy Young candidate, no doubt.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so yeah, they're in a
That's the
weird
Rays.
spot. Um, Cardinals-Phillies, they were that was kind of like if Guardians-Rays didn't happen, that would have been the series.
That would have gotten a lot more attention for just being a bad series.
Yeah.
Other than outside of one inning.
Yeah, right, yeah. Um, Weird series. Interesting stats in the series also with the Statcast angle. Um, but but yeah, the Cardinals had a 484 OPS in the series and only one extra base hit. However, the Cardinals also had a 231 slugging, but a 439 expected slugging, which is a 200-point difference, or 208 if you want to get technical. And the Cardinals had two barrels that were both outs. Um, all right, what do we want to get into first with the Cardinals-Phillies series?
I mean, there was no offense in this one until the seventh inning of game one when Juan Yepez hit a big two-run homer.
Yep.
Um, Also, side note, hearing Michael Kay announce another team's game, so weird.
Yes, that's true.
That felt so not right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very funny though, because I did see a tweet where it was like, I didn't actually catch this specific moment, but someone goes, just turned on the Cardinals Phillies game and heard. And the thing about the Yankees and George Steinbrenner, dot dot dot, which makes so much sense because it
Yeah.
was him and A-Rod.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not that surprised there.
One of the biggest like pissed off moments I've ever had in baseball was uh if you go back and watch the last out of the 2017 World Series with the Astros, right before the last pitch, John Smoltz is talking about Gary Sanchez.
Wow.
Like
Wait.
not in this series because they were talking about Brian McCann and like how
Mhm.
he had previously been with the Yankees and big moment for him. He's finally getting his first ring. And it's like, yeah, he had that starting role in New York, but he was kicked out because of the Sanchez success. Here's the ground ball. This should do it. The Houston Astros are world champions. I swear to God, that's the actual call. If you go like while Charlie Morton is in the windup, you hear because of the Sanchez success.
Wow. Yeah.
Like why that I'll never forgive that.
Yeah.
Like, not even my World Series, not even my team's championship, but really the Yankees had to find their way into the World Series call for another team in a series they weren't even in.
Yeah, and yeah,
Like
with
if you're
two outs in the
listening,
World
pause this
Series, you
and
got to
watch.
parse your words, no doubt.
Yeah, seriously, like you gotta be better than that.
Right.
Or even just like one out in the World Series with a man on. Even if
Yeah.
it's a guy on third, you got to prepare yourself for the unlikely double play. Like you got to get ready for that last out.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, not a lot of offense in this Phillies Cardinals series. What I'll say is Zach Wheeler, interesting day. Like if you just look at him not allowing runs, you could be like, great performance by Zach Wheeler. 6 1/3, no runs, 2 hits allowed. Only had 4 strikeouts, which is a little low for Wheeler. Uh, the Phillies or the Cardinals were 2 for 17 on balls in play against Wheeler, um, which is very low BABIP numbers. And they had 2 barrels against Wheeler that were both outs. And that contributes to Wheeler having a 100 slugging against, but a 509 expected slugging against. So,
That's
layman's
tough.
terms, Wheeler got a little lucky.
Otherwise, like very good outing, F4 wise. I said it was definitely a 0.3.
A 0.3.
6 1/3, like 6 1/3 with a good strikeout to walk ratio and no home runs. Yeah, I would say so.
It was a good strikeout to walk ratio, but strikeout minus walk rate.
But no, I know that, but also like F4 doesn't really care that much if you don't strike out a ton of people as long as you strike out much more people than you walk.
All right. Okay.
Especially if you go that deep into a game with no home runs allowed.
Yeah. All right. Um,
That's why I said it was a 0.3.
all right.
I
All
don't know
right.
if you noticed, but in the prep sheet, every time you listed like an outing, I threw in my Fangraphs prediction.
No, I'm looking right at it. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
Jose
next to
Quintana.
the next to Bieber's, I wrote 0.2 energy.
Very funny. Jose Quintana, on the other end, he was the starter for the Cardinals, and it worked out great for them.
Yeah.
Solid move putting him number one. He went 5 1/3 scoreless. He had 15 batted balls against, and only 2 were in the sweet spot. If it was an average day for like an average pitcher, there would have been about 5 in the sweet spot with 15 batted balls because the league average sweet spot percentage is about 1 out of 3.
And it should be noted, sweet spot is any batted ball with a launch angle between 8 and 32 degrees. Anything below that is basically a easy ground ball or a can of corn.
Anything below that is a ground ball. Anything above that is either a flyout or a high home.
Unless it's like hit hard enough, yeah, and it's like a home
Yeah,
run that like just barely clears the wall.
yeah, and it's not it can't really be a dead center
It's
home run.
no, it's also just very more often than not an out if it's above
Yeah,
33.
yeah. Um, and what I wrote down last for game one in the prep sheet was Ryan Helsley WTF.
Yeah, what a weird he did exit the game with an injury that a lot of people speculated was fake. I'm not gonna comment on if it was or not, but the x-rays did come back negative, so that's definitely
Yeah,
good.
well, I mean, X-rays, I feel like he wasn't breaking any bones up there. I could see
No.
a muscular problem though. Um,
There was one injury that was definitely real that a lot of people were saying was fake, and I don't remember which one it was.
yeah, I don't know, but Ryan
Uh,
Helsley,
I don't remember
um,
which one.
he went out. He was out in the eighth
Oh,
inning.
I think it was in the Blue Jay series. I don't remember which one. I think it was game two, I think. Hold on. I'm trying to memorize who in game two of the Blue Jays series said that they couldn't feel their hand and like their velocity was down by like 3 miles an hour.
I think
Maybe
it
it
was
was the
Guardians
Mariners.
Rays. I think it was Pete Fairbanks and Guardians Rays.
It was Pete Fairbanks and Guardians Rays. You're absolutely right. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, because he said I
Yeah.
can't feel my hand. Um, but yeah, Ryan Helsley went out. He was out in the eighth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, went out also in the ninth. He had a good eighth inning, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he was out for the last two outs of the eighth. He got a strikeout looking against Brandon Marsh, pop out for Kyle Schwarber. Goes out for the ninth. Strikes out Reese Hoskins to start the inning, and then a single to Real Muto, and then walk to Harper, walk to Castellanos, hits Alec Boehm with a heater to tie or yeah, ties the game or no, makes it 2-1. Um then Helsley comes out, bases loaded, nobody out. Um ground ball single for Gene Segura to tie it up. Um or no, ground ball single to take the lead. It was 2-1. It was a 2-run single. Then Bryson Stott hits a ground ball, diving stop by Paul Goldschmidt. Or no,
Mm-hmm.
it was that one. And then he throws it home, not in time, makes it 4-2. Then Brandon Marsh hits a ground ball that's a little bit misplayed by Nolan Arenado. It's called a single because it wasn't touched. Makes it 5-2, and then there was a sac fly to make it 6-2. And Phillies won. What did we what did we think about that inning?
First of all, what's up, Alex? Second of all, it was such a weird inning. Like, I don't know how Gene Segura even hit that ball.
Yeah, it it, it,
That
it
was
was it was bizarre.
the other one was it was the play to Arnado, which was ruled a hit for some reason.
Um,
I
oh
forget who
yeah,
was batting, but it was a lefty who hit a chopper down to Arnado. It went just above his glove. He just flat out missed it. A run
yeah,
scored,
it was Brandon
and
Marsh.
it was Marsh, yeah. And Cardinals were just falling apart at that point. It was very weird because I hate to bring this into the conversation, but like if you showed me that box score and that inning and covered up the teams, I would have been like, that's a Cardinals-Phillies game where the Cardinals scored six in the ninth and the Phillies blew it.
I, like, yeah,
Like
I
even if you didn't tell me it was Cardinals-Phillies, pick which side. Like that's such a Cardinals win and such a Phillies loss, but the roles were reversed.
yeah, it was very funny. I literally texted you that like the the Cardinals pulled the Phillies.
Literally. And the Phillies pulled the Cardinals.
Yeah, yeah, it was wild. Like, it I've I associate like over the past couple years the Cardinals with like good clean baseball, obviously great defense, but not the
Hmm.
case in that ninth inning.
No.
Um and Ryan Helsley, like I haven't really known as like Ryan Helsley's not really a wild pitcher. He wasn't this year. He had
No.
2.8 walks
Like
per
I don't
nine,
think
which is
of him I don't associate him with the occasional like meltdown outing, but that's what happened there.
yeah, like Helsley was great this year. And yet only 2.8 walks per nine. Only he that was the first batter he hit all year. Um, didn't
Wow.
have didn't have
So
any
yeah. By
didn't
the
have any
way, Alec Boehm getting hit by 101 like on the arm and just immediately getting up and clapping, I will never understand.
Yeah, that's some
Like
playoff adrenaline right
how do
there.
you do that? How do you get hit by over 100 miles an hour and immediately get hype? Like not even a second did he be like, "Ow, that hurt."
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
there are many things that Major League Baseball players do that just cannot be done by the common man or woman for that matter. Um, but the one thing that I will never understand is how you can possibly get hit by a pitch that fast and get excited about it on immediate reaction.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess like when you just are a big league player, I guess you just get kind of used to it.
Like if I got hit by a Ryan Helsley fastball, even in like let's say it was bases loaded, like 2 out, game 7 of the World Series, bottom of the ninth, tie game, and I just walked off the World Series by getting hit by a pitch, I would be like screaming, crying on the ground for 5 minutes before I walked to first base.
Yeah, I could not hide that pain.
Yeah, no.
It would be hard.
You would need to like wheel me down to first base so I can win the game.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, yeah, it's
And it doesn't even matter where I get hit. Like if I got hit on the
right.
back, the leg, the arm, face, like
No
even
good
like the
place.
foot, no. Like I would play dead on the field.
Yeah, no good place there. No good place. Um, so yeah, that was tough. And then we go to game two, where the
Bryce
Phillies
hit a
win two.
shot.
Phillies win 2-0. Um, Cardinals, they had their opportunities, but never came through. That with runners in scoring position, they were 0 for 7 with 4 strikeouts. 4 strikeouts are definitely notable in runners in scoring position situations because
Yeah.
obviously you can move guys over. Um, Aaron Nola, 6 2/3, scoreless, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Um, and Nola had a 167 slugging against and a 370 expected slugging against. So, there were probably some hard hit fly balls that were just hit to the right spots from a Phillies perspective. Um, and a key moment, probably the key moment that really just broke the Cardinals here was bottom of the eighth. It was first and second. There was 1 out, and Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado were back to back, and they both went up and struck out against Sir Anthony Dominguez. And yeah, Zach Eflin closed it out, and yeah, Phillies move on.
Yeah. The Cardinals did fight a little bit in the ninth. I know Yadier Molina came up as the last out and he ended up getting a single before um I think it was Tommy had been popped out in foul territory. So the Cardinals did, have a little bit of life at the end of that series. Chris, you're muted. I don't know if you know that, but
Yeah, I know.
okay. Oh, yep. Okay, fair enough. House shenanigans happening.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
everybody
I mean the
bringing their stuff here.
Phillies, you can say all you want about how the Phillies got lucky and whatnot, but like they got the job done, like the pitching was solid. Bullpen came in and did its job amazingly. Uh, I don't believe did Wheeler give up the home run to Yepes or was that Alvarado?
That was Alvarado, and Alvarado want
Okay.
the guy to put him on.
Okay. So the Phillies bullpen gave up 2 runs that series and they ended up not mattering, which is excellent.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was a surprising thing. I expected the Cardinals bullpen to fully outclass the Phillies bullpen. Like if it was a
Hmm.
situation where the Cardinals were ahead or it was a tie game late in the game, Cardinals were going to take that every time, but not the case. Not what I expected, and Phillies came through for sure. And it, I definitely get more confidence from the Phillies as they keep going along and advancing.
Yeah, the Phillies are going to be playing the Braves. We'll get into that later, but they all the things that we were skeptical about, they did right, and then the things that we knew they could do right, they did when they needed to, especially in that ninth inning.
Um, yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, kind of the Cardinals just kind of. I feel I
Yeah,
feel like I almost feel like the Cardinals lost this one more than the Phillies won it.
it's crazy because I said uh I see two types of things happening. The Phillies beat the Cardinals or the Phillies beat themselves. The Cardinals ended up beating themselves, which is
Yeah.
not what I expected at all.
Yes.
That's probably the main takeaway from this series. Maybe you take that into consideration with the Phillies Braves series. Maybe it gave the Phillies momentum to excel into the Braves series. We'll obviously get into that later, but that can be interpreted many ways because it certainly was not expected.
Yeah, like not what I expected. The Phillies played some pretty good, decently clean
Yeah,
baseball.
wasn't like anything completely special.
Yeah, they got the
Wasn't like
outs
a
they
full out.
needed, and they ended up on top.
Yeah,
Cardinals kind of screwed themselves, especially like offensively in that second game, 0 for 7 with
didn't
runners
uh
in scoring position with
did
4 strikeouts.
didn't Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt combine to go like 1 for 15?
Um, yeah, something like that. Something like
Yeah,
that.
that can't be happening.
To be fair, I mean, Arenado did have one of those barrels that was an out,
Yeah.
but
Oh, he absolutely did. No, Arenado had like uh his individual differentiations between slug and expected slug was pretty outrageous. Goldschmidt went over 7 with 1 walk in this series, 4 strikeouts. That can't be happening.
yeah, and he was not hot heading into the series either.
No, he wasn't. He only had 1 barrel. Er, he didn't barrel any balls for the last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, which is wild. But yeah, no Nolan Arenado, as we talked about yesterday, had a line out that had a 630 expected batting average, um, with an exit velocity of 96.7 miles per hour. And the day before, I have to search it up again. Um, Day before Arenado, he had a he had a fly out with an 840 expected batting average that was a barrel. Probably would have been out of some ballparks. And then he also had another fly out that traveled 354 feet, had about a 99 mile per hour exit velocity. So he was getting some good wood on it. But he did have one key moment where he could have came through and struck out against Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Yeah, who's been one of the better Phillies relievers this year. Outstanding all around, and
Yeah, good
he
strikeout
showed
guy.
again.
Good.
Didn't he get Pujols a strikeout in the 8th inning of that one too?
Um, maybe to start the inning, but
Hmm.
I know there was first
It
and
might have
second.
been.
I know
Yeah.
there was first and second, one out, and Goldschmidt and Arenado went down.
Okay.
Um,
Sure.
so yeah, I mean, with eulogizing the Cardinals,
I
there,
feel like we got
there's
to
a
say that for
lot.
later. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I feel like we can't just talk about Pujols and Molina retiring now because that should be a bigger segment, but that
yeah,
is how it ends for Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina and possibly Adam Wainwright,
yeah.
which is crazy.
It is crazy, and it seems like an abrupt end, but the Cardinals did beat themselves.
Yeah, it is a shame that that's how it has to end.
Right.
Um, I believe I forget who it was, but whoever the 7 hitter was for the Cardinals, it was Corey Dickerson. He got like a bloop hit to left field to bring Molina up, and before that, I was like, oh my God, imagine if Molina ends his career on deck in the playoffs in an elimination game. Like that would have sucked so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he did get a hit in his last at bat, which is pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so yeah, we can dive into their careers a little bit later, but we do still have a lot going on in the baseball world. Uh, Blue Jays Mariners, man,
Yeah, wow.
pretty wild. Game one we can go over a little briefly. That, you know, it was kind of basic,
It
just
yeah, the basic 7 run comeback in game 2.
well, I'm talking about I'm
Game
talking about we
1.
can just run over game one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I missed like most of the offensive action in that game because I had a funny story with that one. I was doing something that you will be doing next year, Chris. I was going to a friend of mine's white coat ceremony because they are in the physician's assistant program over here at Springfield College.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, as I was walking back from that, I noticed it was 3-0 Mariners.
Yeah. I like what was I doing? I think I was still watching Phillies cards. And
Gotcha.
yeah, it was like I was like, I won't miss much. This is gonna be a pitcher's duel. 3-0.
3-0. Yeah,
Yeah,
quick.
I just saw that. Yeah, because ESPN, like if you were watching one game, you were getting highlights of the other game, and ESPN did that. But yeah, I mean, it was what, a hit by pitch to, was it Frazier?
Julio. Julio.
Julio.
Julio
And
had two hit
then
by pitches in that game, I believe.
and then
And then Ty France got out. Eugenio Suarez doubled.
yeah, Eugenio Suarez doubles, Cal Raleigh 2-run homer. It's 3-0.
Big dumper.
Big dumper.
Big dumper. I love that all of America has to know that nickname now.
Yeah, we love that. And then yeah, Luis Castillo, 7 1/3 scoreless.
Yeah.
Uh,
5 strikeouts. Did you see? I'm sorry, but I do got to go back to Cal Raleigh for a second. Did you see that clip of Tim Kurkjian explaining his nickname?
no, I didn't.
So I need you to picture this in Tim Kurkjian's voice.
Yep.
But he was like, yeah, so I forget who on the team. He's like, I asked someone on the team, like, where they got that nickname from. And they were like, his butt is just big. That's it.
We love that. We love that. But yeah, Luis Castillo, the guy, yeah, Kyle Raleigh was catching Luis
Yep.
Castillo, who went 7 1/3 scoreless, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Also, like, 5 strikeouts is kind of low for Castillo, but
Mhm.
when guys were hitting the ball against Castillo,
It was also like
it was not a good result.
he also had like 1 strikeout for the first like 5 innings, and he picked him up later in the outing.
Yeah, I
Four
noticed
nothing
that.
game. 4-0. What was the fourth run? It
s-
was. I'm just see who had the RBI.
it was
If
one
it
of
was
the
another. Oh, it
Mariners
was a
touchdown
Raleigh. It was
hit.
a Raleigh double. Or no, it was another Eugenio Suarez hit.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So Castillo, and when guys were hitting the ball against Castillo, it wasn't a good result. He had 22 batted balls, 4 of them were hard hit, which is 18.2%. The league wide hard hit rate is usually like between like 35 and 38%. So the hard hit rate against Castillo was about half that on on Friday. So, even without the strikeouts, it was a pretty dominant performance given the weak
It
contact he was
was.
inducing.
There was however one barrel in the game, and it was a Danny Jansen 380-foot flyout.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so there was that. There was that. But yeah, Castillo was holding it down. He had good stuff. His fastball was flying out of his hand. Uh, like lots of high velocity, 98, 99, 100, 101. And he looked great, just aesthetically. Um, Game 2 was crazy.
Yeah. I was once again at my best friend's house, and I was like kind of periodically checking in because I was out to dinner with him. And I was like, oh, this game's 7-1. I can stop checking.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had I had the old contemplation of like, I haven't played MLB The Show in a while, and once it hit 8-1, I was like, maybe I should put on the old console. We got like an hour and a half before Mets-Padres. It'll be perfect timing. But I wanted to watch the top of the sixth, and then I think, yeah, Santana hit a home run. It was 8-5. So I was like, you know what? I'll keep the game on. And yeah, I mean, just a real, you could look at it two ways. Mariners offense just came back, which is, one of the right answers. And the other right answer is Blue Jays bullpen
Anthony
just blew
Bass.
up. Yeah, Anthony Bass. Yeah, 3 hits.
Literally did not record an out, 3 runs.
Yeah.
Pretty tough. Yeah. Infinite. I believe his career postseason ERA is infinite.
Um, yeah.
Oh no, he's not. He did pitch in the wild card series in 2020.
Yes, in the
He
fake
threw
one.
a scoreless 1 inning with 2 walks and no strikeouts. Or actually, no, 1 strikeout.
Right. And
So
and also, I mean, I guess should be noted is like the Mariners did have, I think was it two doubles of average like two doubles with exit velocities below 75 miles per hour, or was it one double and a single? I don't
please
know.
hold. I will
Yeah,
check that.
but there was a little bit bebbery. However,
Right.
um,
Is that before the Santana home run?
um, after I think
Oh, after.
because Suarez had like a high double that it literally just landed in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere and on the field.
Um, well, actually, no, because both of the no, before the Santana home run, both singles hit by the Mariners had an exit velocity below 75 miles an hour. But Ty France also had one at 106. However, the expected batting averages, Eugenio Suarez had a 470 expected batting average on his 71.5 mile an hour single. It must have been a bloop. And then Cal Raleigh's single was 74.8, 270 expected batting average. So not exactly as understandable. Still a little bit unlucky, but not outrageous.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to find what I was looking at before. Ninth inning. In the
Oh,
ninth
you're
inning,
talking ninth.
JP or no, eighth inning, which was that even relevant? JP Crawford had a 70.4 mile per hour double. And eighth inning, Eugenio Suarez had a 79.1 mile per hour exit velocity double that had an expected batting average of 040. Um,
Nice.
so yeah, there was a little bit going on, but I mean it was a 10-9 ball game, so it's gonna happen. Um,
It is gonna happen.
but yeah, um,
It was a fun
the
game.
yeah, it was a great game.
The only thing that was not fun about it was George Springer getting hurt. That was
Yeah, that
just
was a
a
rough play.
a collision play with Bo Bichette, who fortunately looked to be fine. Obviously 3 runs scored on that play.
Oh yeah, that was the JP Crawford double that was
Yeah, that was that. I mean,
70.
that it tied the game. Like it was literally bases loaded, 2 outs. After it was bases loaded, no outs. Carlos Santana and Dylan Moore both struck out. And then first pitch, JP Crawford hits one like a bloop to shallow center. And then it lands just in front of Springer, who collides with Bichette. 3 run score because they were going on contact, and Springer's hurt. Yeah, that was unfortunate, but obviously a crazy moment in the game.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. And yeah, we hope George Springer well. Unfortunately he's run into some injuries over the past few years and yeah, that
Yeah.
sucks. And this one didn't look good. But I mean, I guess the silver lining is luckily he'll have a lot of time to recover and
Yeah.
hopefully he'll be good. Um,
Yeah, I have a feeling he'll be good for spring training next year.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, the to put it into perspective, I was the I think the one of the things I was concerned about with the Mariners and why um I didn't have them winning any games in this series, by the way, one of my other bad takes was I didn't like the Mariners offense. However, they really came through when they needed to. They provided definitely enough offense for Luis Castillo. Alek Manoah, by the way, Alek Manoah in his previous 8 starts had a one flat ERA, flat one ERA, in his previous 8 starts heading into the series. And then, the Mariners go out and hit and get 3 runs in the first inning against him. That's
Sometimes that's just how it is.
as
Like sometimes stuff just doesn't make sense.
it's just good offensive performance by the Mariners. They got the runs when they needed to. They scored 10 in game two on a day when Kevin Gossman was starting, who, he was looking
And he
good.
still pitched pretty well by all accounts.
Yeah, he did pitch
What
pretty
was it?
well.
Uh 5 2/3, 4 earned runs. Very good strikeout to walk, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, no
But
home
also,
runs.
also so those things are weird because it's like a weird
Hmm.
4 earned runs because, you know, if Tim Mesa doesn't give up a 3-run home run, it's 1 earned run.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Exactly.
or no,
Like
2 earned runs.
when
Yeah,
Kevin Gausman left that game, the consensus was he's pitched well enough for the Blue Jays to win this.
exactly. Exactly. And it blew up. I meant to say 2 earned runs there. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, Yeah, the Mariners offense, I have a little more confidence in now. They really proved me wrong. I thought the Blue Jays had the momentum. I thought they had the talent, and I thought they had the home field advantage. But Seattle killed all that, and man,
They also hit when it mattered most. Like the 3-run double by JP, the double by Adam Frazier in the ninth, the 3-run homer by Santana. I believe that was with 2 outs in the inning.
yeah,
Like they got the hits when they needed to, and they made them big.
yeah, for sure. Like
And
they
then they shut out the Blue Jays in game one, which is wild. George Kirby as closer was pretty cool too.
true, yeah,
Like as
yeah,
if that bullpen couldn't get any better. They're just like, let me add a starter, like our fourth starter that just our really good starter who just happens to be our four because we have three better guys uh
yep,
that we're just gonna put as our closer now, even though we already have plenty. Um Andres Munoz versus Jackie Bradley Jr. in the eighth inning after George Springer left just should not have been allowed.
yeah, not a great matchup.
Yeah.
Not
I know
not good.
you texted me that, but I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it did not look like a major league at bat.
It just should have been a forfeited out.
Yeah, like instead of holding up the four fingers for intentional walk, hold up the three for strikeout.
Jackie just takes an intentional strikeout.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm good. I'm not trying to face a 103 with movement right now.
Yeah. Yeah, quite the event there. But yeah, I mean, real shout out to the Mariners. They earned this one.
Yeah.
They went out and got it.
It's also that kind of win where you feel like when you win a series that way, like there's no one that you're not beating. Like you
True.
can't like the Astros are objectively better on paper and they have the momentum and they had the season series, but you can't just write the Mariners out after seeing what they did against the Blue Jays.
Exactly. And like there's just a factor there in like
Hmm.
they went to the Rogers Center and beat the Blue Jays both times they faced them in the Rogers Center.
And that as their first playoff appearance in 21 years, too.
Yes.
Like, we've been hyping up the potential Mariners playoff series for so long to the point where it really seemed like if they just make the playoffs, that's a memorable season and it's everything we've ever wanted to see out of them. But like they're here to compete.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
they're
sometimes I really did get caught up in the just seeing them in the postseason is enough. Like that's all I've ever wanted to see out of them. Um, but it's more than that this year, no doubt.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. And
Um
going back to my point on the Astros, like you can still pick the Astros. I'm not gonna fault you for that, but you can't just say, it's gonna be a wash.
right. Yeah. I mean there's definitely some more I think there are probably more lopsided series than Mariners Astros here. Um as we look into it.
I would
Um
agree.
so on to the series I led with. It was a little teaser into our recap of the series where you know, reality hit me, but it's my way into the business is how I'll justify my bad take. Um Yeah, Padres Mets, the only one to go three. So shout out to them for giving us a game three here, a
Yeah.
nice winner take all game. Um, so yeah, takeaways.
From game one specifically, I mean Max Scherzer, just what was that? What was that?
Yeah, it just
That's really all you need to think about with game one. Like Scherzer gave up the only Padres scoring was on home runs, and it was Josh Bell in the first inning, Trent Grisham in the second, and then Jurickson Profar and Manny Machado in the fifth. 4 home runs total for 7 runs. Um, yeah, I couldn't explain that one to you. Although the Mets did win the expected batting average battle. So the Mets basically won that game and they won the series. So it will be Mets Dodgers in the NLDS.
yeah, yeah, I like that. The one what I will say is so I don't know if you caught this, but in the broadcast, I was watching on my phone on mute, so I didn't know what they were talking about. But they showed Scherzer in the bullpen, and it looked like there was like slight grimacing, and I don't know if they've referenced it, but Scherzer was on the IL a couple weeks ago, and I'm looking at the injury and it says nerve irritation, uh, which was like in the spine, and it did look like his back was a little, and maybe he didn't have as much finish on his pitches that he would have liked to. Maybe he was hanging stuff, um, that he wouldn't usually have been hanging, but all in all, uh, how it ended up, he had a very bad performance. Obviously, gave up 4 home runs, 7 runs. Josh Bell, Trent Grisham, Jurickson Profar, and Manny Machado all got him. And yeah, it was not good. A guy who actually looked good was Yu Darvish. Seven
Yeah.
innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 0 walks,
Um,
4 strikeouts.
I'm just looking at Max Scherzer right now, real quick. Looking at his player breakdown, it doesn't look like his velo is anywhere like notable. Like his four of his pitches were down in velocity, but it was by 1 mile an hour or less. So nothing to really pop your eyes out at. But a couple interesting things with spin right here. Both his slider and changeup were over 100 RPM down from the average of his this
Yes.
year.
So
So that could be something to point at too. His four seamer was only down 48 RPM, but I guess for a pitch that isn't meant to spin a lot, maybe that is a decent amount.
yeah. So yeah, like I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to get into
Yeah.
that. But you Darvish, um, 7 innings, 1 run ball. Also, he had 4 strikeouts, so you could say, oh, had some good luck with balls in play. However, the 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 balls were going in the right direction. You Darvish garnered 6 pop-ups on 23 batted balls, which is 26% of the batted balls he gave up. The average pop-up rate is I think around 7 or 8%. So having a 26% pop-up rate on the night is absolutely
Um,
incredible, and those never land for hits. And
yeah, that's pretty remarkable.
he had 10 batted balls against, that had 40 plus degree launch angles, and
Wow.
all 10 of those batted balls landed as outs. So yeah, he got great results. Yu Darvish did.
I'm looking at Robert Suarez real quick. This is in game one. His force, so he threw 20 or he only threw two four seamers. Okay, never mind. Disregard what I was about to say. Doesn't matter. Yeah, that Darvish point is interesting though. I'd love to see where that ranks in general, like playoff games. So how many batted balls against did he have total?
He had 23 total.
Damn, that almost gets me to a qualifier. Wow. Only four performances this year with at least 10 batted balls to have a 40-degree launch angle or higher. It was Tristan McKenzie on June 4th of this year, Jose Urquidy on by the way, that Tristan McKenzie one had 11. Jose Urquidy on July 8th, Hunter Green on June 6th, and then Yu Darvish.
Mhm.
I wonder if anyone else has done it in the postseason in the Statcast era.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
That's
Like, is
that's
it a
what I'm about to
postseason
check.
thing?
Yeah. Nope, no one else has done it. That's the most 40-degree launch angles in a single game in the postseason since 2015.
Yeah, shout out to you,
Pretty
Darvish.
remarkable.
Um,
Darvish was very impressive in that game. The main takeaway was just Scherzer what, but if he was injured, that does make a little bit more sense. But even still, like,
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot to be said about the way Buck Showalter managed the series.
right. Yeah,
It felt like he let guys go a little too long, especially
true.
tonight. Like Chris Bassett, you probably say could have been taken out earlier. Michael Givens in relief definitely could have been taken out earlier. Um,
Yeah, it did seem like
like
Buck Showalter.
the fact that they let two guys get on before they brought in Edwin Diaz doesn't make much sense to me.
It did seem like Buck Showalter was managing a 1995 playoff game.
Yes.
for a little bit
Yeah.
for a
Like
lot of that. Yeah.
Scherzer probably could have been taken out after the second home run. Like, I get that that's a bad look, but he didn't help himself out anymore.
And like it's a best of three,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
the leash is even shorter and it's short in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing removed from a wild card game, the one game playoff. Uh, there the leash is short and you have a lot of guys that can pitch with the Mets. Um, yeah, game two, I mean, it seems very irrelevant now that, the Padres won this series handily. But how do we want to get into it really?
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's not really much to be said about game two, other than like Lindor homered, Alonso homered. Like everything that we expected out of the Mets happened in that game, except maybe DeGrom could have been a little bit better, even though he was fine.
This series
Um,
really, like, I really
that
did
game
not
two
think.
felt the most like a modern postseason baseball game. Like Blake Snell throwing 90 pitches in 3 1/3 innings. Uh, the Mets having 9 walks in that game. It was the 56th game in postseason history where a team had 9 walks. It was the second such game in Mets postseason history.
Yeah, I really did not outlook this series well at all because the one I crapped on so many Padres, but I was like Blake Snell, he's actually been doing well. I could see him doing well this
Yeah,
series.
and he
He
he did not.
he was like
Most
his
of the
his walk rate went down crazy in the second half,
and then he
but
had six.
he made up for it in he made up for his drop in walk rate with this performance.
He might have matched his walk rate over that span with his
Yeah.
walk rate in that performance alone.
Yes.
Most of the big storylines of this series came in game three
Yeah. I want to get into
because
it.
yeah, I mean let's just cut to the chase and get into Eargate. What a wild turn of events
How
that happened
often
there with Joe Musgrove.
how often do you see someone come out to check foreign substances and it's nothing?
Well, I'm 1 for 2 this year in
Um,
seeing it.
yeah.
I saw it in the NACBL this season where a guy actually did get ejected. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's a tough look for Buck Showalter and the Mets. It's so funny because it was going viral on Twitter, where someone pointed out like his ear, like Musgrove's ear looked a little shiny, and I really want to believe that like the Mets social media like person just ran down to the dugout and was like, "You got to see this, Buck,"
Yeah.
because they literally the umpires literally checked his ears like specifically. Like I don't even know if they checked his hand, his glove, his hat.
I
Like
mean,
they very specifically checked his ear.
it looked ESPN made those ears look wicked shiny.
Yeah. It would be very funny if it was a broadcast thing and like
Yeah.
it was completely normal. They
Yeah,
didn't find
right.
anything, so there's a chance of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll look back at the tape and look at all of Joe
Um,
Musgrove starts on
part of
ESPN.
part of the this was very stupid. Part of the tape that people were looking back was like people noticed that he wiped his ear before they came out, and it was like, oh, like he removed the substance and put it on his hand before they checked him. It's like, oh, so they didn't check his hand at the end of the inning then, like they do at the end of every inning.
Yeah, it was silly. And Musgrove went 7 innings of scoreless ball, one hit allowed, one walk, five strikeouts. You know, as you put
Yeah.
in the prep sheet, two clean ears. And yeah, I mean, just flat performance from the Mets offensively and a good you want to say the last
Yeah.
thing you put there?
Oh, yeah. I wrote New York Mets, more like the New York Mids.
Boom. You got him
Boom.
there. I mean, yeah,
Um,
they just yeah.
the the memes of Eargate were so good tonight, though. Like the most popular one was the the magician pulling a quarter from Musgrove's ear. If they actually did that, I would have lost my shit, dude.
It was
That
so
would have
funny.
been the greatest thing that ever happened. Like Buck
Oh my
did not
God.
like imagine Buck did not ask to check for sticky stuff. It's like, yo, pull out the magic trick real quick that'll throw him off so bad.
Yeah, it would be less embarrassing for Buck Showalter if that happened. Um, yeah, the Mets just they yeah, they didn't look very good in this series. I mean, with game one, I think the obvious fingers are going to be pointed to Max Scherzer. However, they only scored one run in that game. So it's not
Yeah,
like
and
a good Max Scherzer performance was going to change much there. They probably would have lost anyway.
not
Um,
only that, but in game three, like Bassett didn't have that great of a start, but the Mets got one hit.
yeah,
It was a Pete Alonso single. That was it.
right.
That was
Yeah,
the whole offense for the Mets. Yeah,
yeah,
they went down with a whimper. There's no other way of putting it. 100 win team, 101 win team, that led the division for like 96% of the season, and they're out before four teams even start their postseason run.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and I guess I really should have bought into the narrative of like,
Of Lil Mets is coming back.
yeah, like I guess I should have because yeah, they got swept by the Braves, and I guess that's where it all started. I mean,
They just
after
laid down and died.
after they
One
got
thing,
swept by the Braves, I mean, they didn't, they swept the Nats, who were, they're not good, but I guess they didn't lose to them at all. But yeah, I mean, it just it was they didn't have exciting games for losses. They just looked
mhm.
bad in those losses.
One general takeaway that I had from this round is between 2020 and 2022, we've now seen 12 of these best of three wild card series. There were eight in 2020 and four this year. And out of those 12, only three of them have gone to a decisive third game. That's 25%. It was A's White Sox in 2020, Padres Cardinals in 2020, and then Padres Mets this year, and I'm really curious as to why that is. And I think the best thing that I can think of is that like there's just some sort of psychological defeat after losing game one, where it's just like we lost one game and now our season's on the line. Like that's it.
Yeah, I think there's something there. I think it really is just personally, I think it's just luck of the draw. Like
Hmm.
if you have 100 of these, maybe
But it's
40
interesting, like
40 of them go to a game
so many
three.
teams that make the playoffs and don't even win a single game. There are plenty of series you can point to where it's like, well, that team should have at least won one. Like I think of the 2020 Twins Astros series where the Astros came into Target Field and swept. I think of what like the Guardians Yankees series in 2020. I know they weren't the Guardians then, but like,
Mhm.
Cleveland should have won that second game. They didn't. I think of uh what else? What else do I think of? The Cubs Marlins series, like the Marlins came in and swept. Like that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, this year I thought the Blue Jays not winning one was weird. And the Cardinals not winning one.
Hmm.
Like Cardinals definitely should have won game one, and Blue Jays should have won game two this year.
Yep.
And yeah, should have been a few game threes, but yeah, not the case.
I feel like I should have known Phillies in two was happening after the Cardinals had that ninth inning happen.
Oh yeah, I felt it
Like how do you come back from that with one game left to
because
play before your
because
season ends?
to be fair to me, I did have Cardinals in three, but I did say that the game the Phillies were gonna win was game two. So
Hmm.
after the Cardinals lost game one, I was like, yeah, Phillies are taking this. They're
Yep.
taking it in two.
Hmm.
And yeah, Nola showed up for sure, and they got shout out to Bryce Harper. I don't think we mentioned him, but he had a great home run, and Kyle Schwarber had a sac fly, and those were their runs.
Yeah. The other general takeaway I had from this round was starting pitching just being so good, except for the best rotation in that group. Like of the 8 teams that went this weekend, on Friday, if I asked you who had the best rotation, you probably would have said the Mets, and I probably would have said the Mets.
yeah,
And they're the only starting pitching unit that did not show up as a whole, or
yeah,
really just in any individual capacity. Like, sure, Blake Snell didn't pitch well, but Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove both did.
yeah,
Guardians Rays, that goes without saying. Cardinals Phillies, you could even say that one goes without saying. Both pitchers did well. Mariners Blue Jays, Gosman pitched all right. Manoah didn't really show up, but then for the Mariners, Robbie Ray performed kind of as expected, but Luis Castillo was amazing.
yeah,
Sarah Lang's former, alum of the show, had a tweet. There were 5 games in this round where a starting pitcher went through 7 innings. That only happened 4 times in the entire 2021 postseason.
yeah. Wow.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Starting pitching was not a driver of last year's playoffs.
No,
Um,
it's cool to see it come back this year. Like to see a guy go 5 complete innings in 2021 was like, oh my God, that's a
right.
great performance. That is an amazing performance.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like Fried went 6 in the clincher for the Braves, and we were like, that's a heroic start.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good for that to come back because I mean
Mm-hmm.
it's very marketable, like
Yep.
because that's another conversation to have. Um, but what we'll get into is a little preview action
Yeah.
here. Um, 3 of 4 of these series are intra-divisional. Um,
Yes.
we got Phillies, Braves, 2 NL East teams. You got Mariners, Astros, 2 AL West teams, and Dodgers, Padres, 2 NL West teams. And Guardians, Yankees are not interdivisional. We'll start off with Phillies, Braves because they are the first game on Tuesday. They're at 1 p.m. The Braves won the season series 11-8. They only outscore the Phillies 88-85. So it was generally pretty close.
It's
I would
definitely
expect,
closer than I think a lot of people would have thought.
yeah, yeah, it was competitive because I think a lot of those games also happened after Rob Thompson was stepped in.
Well, that's
Um,
going to be the case for this series.
yes.
But it'll be
Um,
fun unless the Phillies just like, guess what, guys? We're bringing back Joe
yeah. Or I
for
guess
this series.
actually, to be fair, both teams struggled at the same time and both teams did well at the same time. So I guess I'm being
Yeah.
unfair there.
Yeah.
Um, the Braves have a 78-34 record since the start of June. That's the best record in baseball in that span.
Yeah.
Um, what should be noted also, as of this recording right now, Spencer Strider's status is still undetermined, so that could be a pretty big factor, especially in a shorter series like this. Um, and if Strider is healthy and is brought on for the series, that's a very good sign for the Braves because Spencer Strider against the Phillies this year had a 1.27 ERA and a 43% strikeout rate in 21
That's
and a third
nuts.
innings pitch.
That's nuts.
It's crazy. Um, and another trend for the Braves, only note I really put down is Matt Olson in his last 9 games. I don't know if this is going to translate after a week off, but Matt Olson is in his last 9 games. His slash line was 375, 447, 969 for a
Yeah.
1416 OPS with 6 home runs in those 9 games. So he's a good guy to watch out for. Uh,
Do we
what
want to just get straight into predictions, or do you have more you want to say?
no, do you have anything you want to say about Phillies Braves?
Not particularly, no.
Um,
We
yeah,
did we did do a lot. Admittedly, we did do a bit of an unfair amount of prep for this series compared to the others, but whatever.
yeah, but also like, we've talked a lot about the Braves and we talked a good bit about the Phillies in our last preview, so
Hmm.
makes sense. Um, what do you got for this series?
I'm gonna go Braves in 4. Um, I don't know. I don't really have much of a rationale, but I mean Max Fried in that rotation, along with Spencer Strider coming back, Charlie Morton, who has very good playoff experience. I know that he hasn't been great as of late, but I still think there's a lot of good reason to believe the Braves can come out on top here. I do think the Phillies will take one game. I guess I'll give them the Morton game, whenever that may be. Um, but yeah, I don't really know. The Braves are the better team. Um, and I think, especially with home runs, I think their offense is gonna really come out and play, even against Wheeler Nola. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
my pick.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling on track with you, and I think also one of the factors heading into um these series is like the teams that didn't have the buys, they're probably not having their number one starter go to
Hmm.
start these series, which is, puts the Phillies at a disadvantage because,
Yeah,
very top heavy rotation with, they got Wheeler, Nola, and then it drops down to Ranger Suarez, and then it's
yeah.
like,
Suarez freed in game one is gonna be tough,
and then they
especially
got
in
what,
Atlanta.
Kyle Gibson after that. Do they even throw
Kyle
him out
probably.
there?
Oh, I mean, they probably go Wheeler because that's Friday to Wednesday.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that's
Yeah.
that's a fair amount of rest time, and Wheeler's a workhorse anyway. And there's an off day, so yeah, it'll probably be. I mean, I don't know if they have Strider or Morton go game two. I don't know how Strider exactly is feeling, but let's just say it's Strider versus Wheeler game two, and then it's Nola versus Morton game three in Philly. That's probably what we're looking at.
Yeah, right. Um, yeah, I think for me it's kind of hard to predict this series
Without the full
without
matchups.
without Strider. Like, do we even know if Strider is going to be in this series?
Hmm.
Um, maybe I'll do. I know this is very nitpicky, but like, I'll do a I'll do a with Strider prediction and a without
Okay.
Strider prediction. Um, if it's with Strider, Braves in four; without Strider, Braves in five. Is
Okay.
what I'll say. Um,
Yeah.
because I think with Strider, for me, no doubt Braves win the first two at home. They got, good home field advantage there. I think Phillies take game three and then Braves close it out. But yeah, I think without Strider, it's gonna take them a little longer, but I think the Braves still come out on top.
Yeah.
Um, all right.
Guardians Yankees is the next series. I'll talk about the notes in this one.
Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
this is the fifth time that they'll be facing each other in the playoffs since 1997.
Um,
Because it was 97, oh 07, 17, 20, now 22.
trying to do my counting here. Yeah,
I just counted five. So
that's five.
the it's 3-1 Yankees in
Mm-hmm.
that time.
Yep.
Or no, is it? No, it's 2-2. Sorry, because the Guardians or Cleveland won in 97 and they won in 07. The Yankees won the last two.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so it's 2-2. This is game five. The Yankees won the season series 5-1 with a plus 24 run differential in 6 games. That's a lot. However, these teams last played on July 3rd, and both teams' seasons have been very different since then. The Guardians are 52 and 34 since the last time they played the Yankees, and the Yankees are 41 and 41.
Yep.
Shane Bieber, of course, faced the Yankees in the 2020 postseason. It didn't exactly go well. He pitched 4 2/3 innings to the tune of 9 hits, 7 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, which is a lot for 4 2/3 innings and 2 home runs. Garrett Cole, on the other hand, seven innings, 2 earned runs, no walks, 13 strikeouts with 1 home run. So obviously that was a tale of two different starts. They probably won't be facing each other in this series, but they'll both be going for sure. Garrett Cole is going game one. That's confirmed. Tristan McKenzie, who's probably going game three, faced the Yankees in 2022, had 7 shutout innings with 1 hit allowed, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. That was absolutely a .3, according to Fangraphs. You could actually look that one up. Um, so I'm sure you're wondering, who the big players are, like what they've done against those teams. Aaron Judge against the Guardians in 2022, he hit 2 of his 62 home runs in only 6 games, slashed 235. So he's a 235 hitter, so he's not very good, unfortunately. We can move on. Just kidding. The rest of his slash line 409 OBP, .706, slugging for an 1115 OPS. He had 4 hits and 2 of them were homers. Jose Ramirez against the Yankees, very different story. In only 5 games, he slashed 111, 200, 167 for a 367 OPS. Of course, there's a bit of history with these teams this season. There was the incident with Miles Straw back in April where he climbed up the left field wall to yell at some Yankee fans that were shouting some mean words at Stephen Kwan. So, I'm sure the Guardians are going in with a chip on their shoulder just based on that incident alone.
Right, right. Um, and in terms of trends, the one thing I put down was Nestor Cortez is coming in with some momentum. I wonder if there is probably some weight in like the teams he was facing in the stretch, but in his last 4 starts, he has a .77 ERA and a 1.74 FIP. He
Right.
faced the Red Sox twice, who, usually they have a good lineup, but they haven't been doling out. It just hasn't felt like the same Red Sox offense
No, no, it
in
hasn't been.
the last couple months. And he also faced the Pirates and Orioles, who were, and that those Orioles were also, well out of the playoff race at that point. The Yankees, you can look at their trend in 2 ways. You could say, hey, they finished the year 38-40, not great, but they also finished the year 16-7. So like towards the end, they were struggling for a little bit.
August was a miserable month for them,
It was really bad, yeah.
especially on offense.
And a little bit end of July too. But September, they did face some easy competition, but they took advantage of it. They finished
Yeah.
16-7. And very talented roster. What do you got for predictions?
I got Yankees in 3. I'm not sugarcoating this at all. After watching that series, I don't believe in the Guardians in their ability to face a real team. The
Yeah.
Yankees absolutely should sweep this series. It should not even be not. You know what? I'll go one step further. I think not only will the Yankees sweep this series, but I think the Guardians will not end a single inning with a lead.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like
Um,
if they scored in the top of the first, I think they're giving up 2 or 1.
yep.
It'll be a tie at least.
Do we
Yeah, I
know
think the
who
Guardians don't end a single inning with a lead.
the Yankees game 3 starter is?
My guess would be so it's Severino. It is Severino. That was announced.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for this one, I feel like I hate to do a verbal meme, but those like memes where it's like a full image and then it fades out and it turns into another image.
hmm
I think
It'll be the
see,
2019 ALDS.
I think it's a Guardians logo and it fades into a Twins logo.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
it's 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 uh it's just the generic AL Central team that the Yankees might stomp all over. And
Yeah.
I mean, to the Guardians' credit, they have some good starting pitching. They have good bullpen, but I mean, that offense just can't compete. And the Yankees'
No.
offense is it's built much better. Um, I don't think the Yankees are going to blow them out every game, but I think that the Guardians are just outmatched here. And yeah, I think the Yankees are going to win in 3 also.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's starting. I think their starting pitchers, especially Bieber and McKenzie, might be able to hold them in check. But I think the Yankees will get some key home runs. And I think Cole and Cortez are gonna do well against that, very non-powerful Guardians lineup. And
Yeah. This is
yeah,
this is a
they'll take
trap
care of
series for
business.
the this is a trap series for the Yankees before the ALCS.
Yep.
Which, if they were to lose this series somehow, that's a monumental collapse and failure. But I can't see it happening.
So the other ALDS is going to be Mariners Astros, another a different intra-divisional matchup. Um, Astros won the season series 12-7. But as I recall, a lot of those series happened pretty early in the season when the Mariners were not the Mariners.
Yeah, they last faced each other before the trade deadline.
Yeah. Um,
Luis Castillo has faced the Astros once in his career, and it was in 2019.
um, you put down, most of the notes for this one. So do you want to get into this one as well?
I absolutely will. So the Astros did win the season series in this one. They won it 12-7, and they also won 6 of the last 7 games they played against Seattle. But they only had a +8 run differential. So, like Phillies Braves, this one was a little bit closer than you might think. Some of the Astros bats performed as expected. Yordan Alvarez, in particular, against the Mariners this year, slashed 327, 438, 654 for a 1091 OPS, good for a 10 or a 207 weighted runs created plus. Additionally, Jose Altuve against the Mariners slashed 296, 383, 507, 890 for a 154 weighted runs created plus. However, the Mariners actually, or the Astro, wait, the Mariners actually held Kyle Tucker in check. He slashed 206, 296, 302, 597 for a 76 weighted runs created plus. And on the pitching side, Justin Verlander threw 41 and 2/3 innings against the Mariners this year to the tune of a 2.34 ERA and a 3.49 FIP. So we did get a little lucky. One guy who got very unlucky was Framber Valdez, who in 13 and 2/3 innings pitched had a 3.95 ERA and a 1.80 FIP. That's a 3.61 BABIP, so that's tough. On the Mariners side of things, Ty France raked against the Astros this year. 338, 392, 535, 928 for a 171 weighted runs created plus. JP Crawford also raked 284, 392, 358 for a 751 OPS. That was good for a 129 weighted runs created plus. And just because I'm sure you're wondering, Julio Rodriguez could have been better. 218, 295, 364, 659 for a 95 weighted runs created plus. Getting into the pitching side for the Mariners, Logan Gilbert, who's probably going to start game one, was excellent against the Astros. 25 innings pitched, a 2.52 ERA, a 2.71 FIP. George Kirby only had one game against them. He threw for 4 innings, had a 4.50 ERA, but he did have a 1.11 FIP. His strikeout to walk numbers were excellent. However, the Mariners are best off leaving Robbie Ray off the playoff roster for now, just for the series, because to say he was bad against the Astros in this year would be an understatement. He had an ERA above 10 in 3 starts, in which he had 10 and 2/3 innings pitched, 5.9 strikeouts per 9, 5.9 walks per 9, 5.1 home runs per 9. He gave up 5 home runs per 9. I mentioned he had an ERA over 10. His FIP was 11.08. He was lucky to have an ERA that low, even though it was over 10. If you want a little perspective, I tweeted this just now. Robbie Ray's 2022 was one of 2 seasons in which a guy had a whip above 2.8 and a home runs per 9 above 5 against any opponent, minimum 10 innings pitched. It's him against the Astros this year. And who could forget 1925 Elmer Jacobs against the Cardinals? He just could not face those Cardinals at all. The
Yeah, it
Rogers
was rough.
Hornsby led Cardinals. Robbie Ray is absolutely dreadful against the Astros. He's probably going to get a start just because, he's a $115 million ace and it looks really bad not to start him. But I'll hit the Astros over 10.5 that game. They're going to absolutely destroy him, especially if
Yeah,
he starts in Houston, which he probably won't, but
right.
that's going to be a wash.
Yeah. But a guy who did actually really good against the Astros this year was their young gun he's got to be going game one, right?
Gilbert, yeah.
Yeah, Logan Gilbert.
It's very cool that Gilbert was supposed to start game 3 for the Mariners and the Blue Jays series, but he's also a very valid game 1 starter in this series.
I was about to say that, like, that's a good
Pretty
game one
sick.
option
Like
for
the Guardians are
coming
gonna
off
go
a
with
playoff series.
like the Guardians are going with Cal Quantrill in the first game. That's not the greatest matchup with Garrett Cole. The Padres are gonna have Mike Clevenger, who was a slightly alarming this year. The Phillies have Ranger Suarez, like bit of a mismatch, but Logan Gilbert versus Justin Verlander, that's going to be the best matchup in game 1 by far.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Logan Gilbert, he pitched 25 innings against the Astros this year and had a 2.52 ERA and a 2.71 FIP, which is really good considering that star-studded lineup with Yordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve, uh, Kyle Tucker. He probably faced Jeremy Pena while he was hot and performing well offensively as well. Um, some really good bats against with those Astros. Alex Bregman also. Um, how could I forget there? And George Kirby hasn't faced the Astros as much. He had 4 innings, 4.5 ERA, 111 FIP. So I don't know, not much to consider there. What I will say, non-related numbers against Astros, just a guy who's coming in red hot is Christian Javier, starter for the Astros. Should be taking the ball game 3. I don't know if they announced that.
Or maybe he's just out of the bullpen. Sometimes they do that.
They should have him start. I don't
Yeah,
care.
they probably should.
In his
I know
last
they had him in the bullpen in the past in the playoffs.
Yeah, in his last 4 starts, 23 scoreless innings, 29 strikeouts, 6 hits allowed, 6 walks, and a 1.37 FIP in those 4 starts. Um, he's doing great. This is a breakout season for him. And yeah, I really like his numbers. He's a strikeout guy. And I'm pretty sure like a very, very big like pop-up high launch angle guy too. So
Mm-hmm.
um
Why is this series starting at 3:30? That is so stupid. It's gonna be a 12 o'clock start in Seattle. Yeah,
yeah, right.
3:37 for games 1 and 2. It'll probably be a night start for game 3, I hope.
It's just not I
Why?
don't know. I
Why
guess
are
it's
they
just not
doing
prime
that,
time.
bro? It's so fucking stupid.
Um but anyway, all right, do we want to predict the series?
I want to go Mariners so bad, dude.
Everyone's rooting for the Mariners. We all
I
know
don't know,
that.
but I know, but I also think they have what it takes. Like, don't get me wrong, the Astros are the better team on paper. I am gonna hand the Mariners an automatic L if they start Robbie Ray. That's just a
Hmm.
no doubter. But Gilbert Verlander, the Mariners also just played awfully in Houston, which is why I'm a little reluctant.
Hmm.
Um, man, I'm gonna let you pick first because I need more time to think.
Yeah. So when I don't have a full prediction, I like to talk my way through it. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, with the Mariners, I mean, obviously everyone's rooting for the Mariners here. Like a lot of people don't like the Astros because of, I'm not even rooting against the Astros because I'm bitter about 2017. I'm over that. I don't really care. But I mean, they've been there a lot. They've been to the World Series 3 times in 5 years, and sometimes it's good to see a new team. And the Mariners are the definition of a new team, literally their first time in the playoffs in 21 years. However, what I see with the Astros is they don't have the same holes the Blue Jays did. The Blue Jays obviously not the best bullpen. Astros had one of the best bullpens this year. Ryan Presley is a very consistent arm in the back of that bullpen. Also had some contributions from some new guys like Rafael Montero and Ryan Stanek having like a 1.15 ERA this
Yeah,
year.
Brian Abreu had like the quietest sub 2 ERA season I've ever seen.
Yeah, just some really good quiet contributors out of that Astros bullpen.
Hunter Brown coming into that bullpen as a prospect.
Yeah, and obviously as they've always had, great lineup up and down and great rotation. I think I'm guessing Lance McCullers might get a start
He
if
probably will.
so it's probably going to be Verlander, Framber Valdez, who like what had the quality start record.
Hmm.
Verlander, who's going to win Cy Young probably.
It'll
Um,
probably be Framber versus Castillo.
and then
Who
you
would have
got
thought?
you got Christian Javier, who literally hasn't given up a run in over 23 innings. And Lance McCullers, who's been looking good. Also, this starts at Minute Maid, and if it goes game 5, it's gonna end at Minute Maid. So that's what you have. That's what the Astros have that the Blue Jays didn't have. Um, And yeah, I gotta I have to say I'm trying to think of how it starts and ends. It a lot of it depends on if Ray pitches in the series or not, of whether I go Astros in three or Astros in four. But yeah, I might have to go. I love to stomp on a hype train too. Um, yeah, if Robbie Ray starts game three, I might have to go Astros in three here. Um, so yeah, I think Astros in three.
Wow. Wow. All right. Chris, you only get to live on this earth one time.
Yep.
You gotta have fun while you're here. Give me Mariners in five.
Yeah.
Give me the Mariners stealing one in Houston, getting one at home, and then you just find a way in game five. It'll either be Gilbert or Castillo, depending on what they do starting matchups in game four. Um, they're gonna be coming off a game four win because they sure as hell are not winning game three if Ray's taking the ball. They're gonna have the momentum coming into Houston. I have no idea how it's gonna happen, but they're just gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
I
I
got I got Mariners in five. Screw it.
I think my thing, and here's the thing, I don't think that's like I know I said the Astros are winning in three and you said the Mariners are winning this series. I don't think that's a preposterous take that the Mariners could win this series. I could very well see it. I
If
just
I
think
said
the Mar
Mariners in three, that'd be outrageous as hell.
yeah, I think the Mariners are just gonna have trouble scoring runs in this series.
But we
Um
also thought that going into Toronto.
that's true. It will come down to them getting like the
Yeah, I
clutch
mean,
hits.
obviously the Astros are a much different animal than the Blue Jays were, but yeah, it is which teams hit with two outs, which teams hit with runners in scoring position. That's what wins you games in the playoffs. Now you look at like I think the Braves last year had like especially against the Dodgers had a crazy amount of hits with two outs with runners
Yeah,
in scoring position. Like most of the runs were scored with two outs. The
yeah,
Mariners are that kind of team. They were in Toronto this weekend and they can be against Houston.
yeah, right. Like they do have the ability to just have clutch hits, and I don't know. You get the feeling with that team. For some reason, these are two very different teams, but I'm I'm thinking of like I'm thinking of the Mariners as like the 2020 Marlins because
The bottom feeders.
I remember they swept the Cubs, and you know, I didn't expect them to sweep the Cubs. And then like they came into a series against the Braves,
I
and
picked them to win that series.
we were pondering of like, oh man, Marlins might win this one, and they got swept by the Braves. And I feel
Yeah,
like that could
and it was
happen.
not even close.
It
Like
was, yeah.
I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in that series other than I got yelled at for watching it in class. Shout out to Laura.
Of course it was Laura. I just remember I think the Marlins got out in front and then in game one, and then I think the Braves just took over from there.
That
Um
series was played in Houston. That's the only thing I can tell you about it.
That's yep. Maybe that's why I'm getting the reminder. Um, all right, now we get into the last series, Dodgers-Padres. Yeah,
I'll let you take the notes on this one.
I did the notes on this. Dodgers won the season series 14-5. They outscored the Padres 109 to 47. The average game was Dodgers 5.7, Padres 2.5. The Padres 2.5 there is wild. Um, Notes on the Dodgers trends. The Dodgers finished the year 66 and 23. That's 89 games where they had a 121 pace over 162. Um, and you know, Dodgers they literally were 111 and 51 this year, and their Pythagorean win loss was 116 and 46, which is unreal. That level of run production and run prevention at the same time is historic, to be quite honest. We could probably get into those numbers after the year ends, but in terms of players specifically against the other team, Mookie Betts this year against the Padres had a 224 weighted runs created plus. Justin Turner against the Padres this year had a 188 weighted runs created plus. Josh Bell, he didn't spend the whole year with the Padres, but as a Padres player, he had an 11 weighted runs created plus against the Dodgers in 43 plate appearances, unfortunately. But to put a positive spin for the Padres, their three main starters, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, and Blake Snell, they didn't have bad numbers against LA this year. All of them had ERAs under 4, which is a little harder to do against a lineup like the Dodgers. Yu Darvish specifically, he had a 2.52 ERA and a 3.55 FIP against the Dodgers in 2022. That was in 25 innings pitched, so pretty good sample size. However, on the flip side, with the other rotation, Tony Gonsolin, Julio Urias, Clayton Kershaw, and Tyler Anderson all had ERAs under 2 against the Padres this year. All of them had 10 plus innings against that team. And yeah, I mean, also with the Dodgers, what you gotta love with the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw is currently healthy, so you gotta love that. And he's having a fantastic year. I mean, he's looking great. He's almost looking like prime Kershaw, except occasionally unhealthy. What have you been thinking about the Padres and Dodgers?
Have you ever considered, Chris, that Juan Soto has never lost a postseason series?
No, yeah, never considered
Never.
that.
Have you considered that he's 1-0 against the Dodgers?
Nope.
Have you considered the Clayton Kershaw Juan Soto playoff history?
No, I haven't.
Have you considered the idea of Yu Darvish, already hated by Dodger fans because of his performance in Game 7 of the 2017 World Series, giving the fans more reason to not like him?
Yeah, I didn't consider that. No.
Have you considered how much of a flip of the script it would be if the Padres just found a way to win? Because postseason baseball doesn't make sense. It never does.
Yeah.
Have you considered the idea that the Padres just go into LA, all odds against them, no reason to actually believe in them, and just come out with a win?
Yeah, I mean, hypothetically that could happen.
Anyways, I got Dodgers in 3.
Right, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, no,
let's
I can't.
I
I listen, like if I'm wrong on that, I'll be wrong with everybody else. But if I'm wrong on betting the Padres, I'm gonna hate myself.
I mean they use their 3 starters. I mean, like, are they gonna
Like
put
Mike Clevenger is going in Game 1.
yeah, no, yeah. Come on. Come on, guys.
Give me a 10-0 Dodgers win in Game 1
So yeah,
with
game
Julio
one's a
Urias on the
wash.
bump.
Game one's a
Um,
wash. Game
yeah, no, that's gonna
two,
be a joke.
game two, you got Darvish versus who you got Tyler Anderson out there.
Maybe Gonsolin, Kershaw. I don't know. Here's the thing: the Dodgers could throw out their 4 starters in any order, and it won't matter.
Yeah,
Like I will look at the series the same way. If
yeah.
they went Anderson Game 1, Kershaw, Urias, Gonsolin, all 4 of them have some sort of case to be made, and I'm
hmm
not like it's not going to change my view of this series.
So this is a thing for the Dodgers, but for this series and all other series, you can't just look at the probable pitchers and determine
Mm-hmm.
because the Dodgers have the best lineup, they have some of the best defense, and they have
They
the
have one
best
of the best
bullpen.
bullpens
Yeah,
when Craig Kimbrell is not on the mound.
their starting pitching is maybe the worst part of their team, and that's not
And
knocking their
eh,
starting pitching.
it's just because like they don't have like I mean I know that Urias has been great this year, but like he hasn't been dominant great. He's been non-peripherally great, I guess. Not
Yeah,
not as
run
much,
prevention.
not as much as last year. He still had what like a 2.17 ERA this year.
Yeah,
He's still a legitimate ace, but it doesn't give you that same feel that like Prime Kershaw or even Walker Buehler did.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But like, you know, comparative, like you could definitely compare Darvish, Musgrove, and
Snell.
like Snell to, Kershaw, Urias, Tyler Anderson. But you can't compare the Padres defense to the Dodgers defense. You can't compare the Padres offense to the Dodgers offense, and you can't compare the Padres bullpen to the Dodgers bullpen.
Yep.
So yeah, Dodgers in three. That sounds right.
Yeah.
And
So
they
anyways, I got a Braves Dodgers part 4, right? Yeah. 2018, 2020, 2021, 2022.
yeah,
And then I got Mariners Yankees part 3.
yeah. I
Or
apologize
was it
to
4? Did the Mariners and Yankees face each other in 2000?
Yeah, I apologize, by the way, to all the listeners who
Padres
just
fans.
for well, just picking. I've picked all home teams so far, and it's so
Hmm.
boring, but I have
Okay, it
reasons
would be
for all of
Yankees
them.
Mariners part 4.
I
Or it would be Yankees Astros part 4.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been picking the higher seeded team every time, but I just feel like
Hmm.
I have valid reasons for all of them, not just because they had better
Yeah.
records in the during the
I
season.
mean, I threw in one upset.
Yeah, and team of destiny. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it there.
Also, like I think everyone who listens to this show knows that I have a soft spot for the Mariners and have for so many years.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that does it for this episode. It's 1:51 in the morning.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
yeah, I mean, sorry if it seemed a little bit low energy, but
Especially coming off of a great wild card weekend.
this is
Yeah.
talking baseball kind of whenever. We're sticking to the name, we're sticking to the brand. Um, we're talking baseball. We were, it is late, but I was very excited to do this. I'm sure you were
Yeah.
as well.
Wild card weekend is cool as hell.
It is.
That's so sick. Like 4 games Friday and Saturday, and then whatever we got left Sunday. Like that's dope.
Yeah. And who knows, like maybe if MLB likes this, they might just end the regular season on a Wednesday every year and
Yeah.
just start the playoffs like this. Because I mean,
I
under
mean
this new,
they've already announced a 2023 schedule, so unfortunately it's going to be a wild card week next year, which is going to be difficult. Um, Thankfully we will not be in college for it, so we won't have to worry about balancing school with that. We'll have to worry about hopefully balancing work. Who knows
yeah,
what that looks like come next October. Um,
yeah, I'm gonna be the
but yeah.
first. I'm gonna be the first guy to like 3 months into employment ask for a sabbatical.
Yep. Just for a month.
Yeah. Can I go on a month-long sabbatical during October? No, this has nothing to do with playoff baseball. It's about me finding myself.
I have a funny story once we log off. That's like
Yeah, no.
similar.
It's funny, like I also like started an internship recently, and I just want to be like, I need a sabbatical. I can't be
Yeah.
covering Westfield high school football right now.
Yeah. You don't
Um,
understand Max Scherzer's pitching.
yeah. All right, well that does it for this
Yeah.
edition of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one. Um, if you're listening to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, I've been interesting to watch for sure. You've seen some maybe a little too much leg from Mr.
Maybe a little,
Giant.
yeah, maybe some movement at like the
Yeah,
48-minute mark. You like moved your head a little bit.
I'm kind of moving around. I'm leaning back. I'm leaning forward. I've have my pant legs rolled up, and sometimes my calves have gotten into frame. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
If you're a female listening to this and you learned through this pod that Chris and I are both taken, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I know you
it's
wanted
really
us
gonna
so
drop
bad.
the female
Yeah.
listenership there. It was really high
I'm
before
so
that.
sorry that you had to learn. I know you wanted us so bad. Clearly,
Yeah,
we're
it
not
really
weirdos who talk about like pre-integration baseball.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure if anybody listened to us that just brings our value in the dating game up so much. But yeah, unfortunately taken, man. Yeah. If you want to follow us on social media still after that news, follow me on Twitter @Chris_Gian, follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram @Daniel_Curran, and follow the show on Instagram @Above Replacement Radio.
Our DMs are open, but only for baseball inquiries only.
Correct. Yes. Make that clear. All right, and we hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you next time.
Who knows? Who knows?
We hope to see you next time
by the end of 2022.
Yeah, we'll
at
be
least.
We'll be talking to you about the league division series, but don't know in what context. They could have ended. We could be in the middle of it. We could be in the middle of the
We have
next
no
round of
idea.
playoffs. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we will see you then.
This conversation is over.